Greetings, Rebel fans. My name is Jason Kelly. This is the Let's Run podcast. I want to welcome you all to the show today. I apologize for my microphone being a little blurry and also my camera being a little blurry. Had to get this up. Obviously, I just did last night a live Boise State preview with Bronco Blaemeyer. That was an absolute blast. I thank him for having me on. He came on our channel. I was grateful to go on his and happy to go on his and really appreciated that. But Rebel fans know that we have a very important and very difficult road game ahead in Reser Stadium against the Beavers of Oregon State. UNLV is coming off of a 50-36 victory over the Aggies of Logan, Utah. Oregon State, however, is coming off of an incredibly difficult and frustrating loss for them, 42-37 at Reno Community College up there in northern Nevada. So obviously both teams, UNLV after the Syracuse loss and Reno, the Reno loss for Oregon State, both teams are going to be extremely hungry in this game. Let's break down some of the key players for Oregon State. Let's give some predictions for the game, talk about what the Rebels are going to have to do to win, and what's going to be the focus and not. It's difficult because this is a big game against a big opponent on the road. But considering the magnitude of that Boise State game next week, it's imperative that the Rebels be focused on the Beavers. This is the game that they could easily lose. Even a depleted Oregon State team is very dangerous at home. It's a night game. There's going to be a good crowd there. So I would not expect this to be a simple game for the Rebels. They're going to have to be on point to win. So looking at the Beavers, their starting quarterback as of right now is Gevani McCoy. He's thrown for just over 1,000. He's thrown for just over 1,000 yards. He had a really bad game against Reno, but there were some calls in the Oregon State circles to bench him for their backup quarterback. But their coach has reaffirmed that he will be the starter. I believe is he a sophomore? He's young. No, so he's a junior. He's kind of I don't know if I'd call him a dual threat, but he's basically Oregon State is a very run heavy offense. They're good at running the ball. I think this is a good matchup for our defense. And McCoy has shown susceptibility to throwing interceptions against Reno. He had 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions with a 44.6 QBR. Even against a team like Colorado State, he only threw for 147 yards. Now, Oregon State did win that game. That was at home. But he threw for 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's only got like 2 interceptions on the year or 3 or 4 touchdowns on the year. So not an explosive passing offense, which for Rebel fans should be really nice to hear after going against Kyle McCord and Spencer Petras. Obviously, Spencer Petras is not on the level of Kyle McCord, but he did throw for a lot of yards. Utah State was very much down, and so it's nice to have a team that doesn't emphasize the pass as much. Though I would still expect Gevani McCoy to throw for a lot of yards, simply because that's what the Rebel defense is designed to give up. The Rebel defense is designed specifically to give the other team's quarterback that short to intermediate throw, as so long as that throw is kept in front of the Rebel players. It is designed to stop the long ball, and it's designed to stop the run. And in college football, there's a belief that you can't necessarily be perfect at all 3. You can be okay at all 3 or good at stopping all 3. But the Rebels are making a gamble that they are going to be excellent at stopping 2 of the 3 things. That would be the run game, the short to intermediate pass, and then the deep pass. The Rebels are focused on shutting down 2 of those 3. And so I would expect Gevani McCoy to have a pretty good game. on the season, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I think he'll throw for a couple of touchdowns. The Rebel defense obviously will have to continue its trend of forcing interceptions. Um, so, I mean, holding him to 1 touchdown throw and maybe 2 interceptions, I think would be the goal for this Rebel defense. It's something that's totally attainable. But you'd be mistaken to underestimate this Oregon State team. Obviously, they lost a lot of their pieces from last year when they were a Power Five team, and now that they're closer to the Group of Five level, which I think is fair to say. Although I know that that would upset some Oregon State fans, and I don't blame them. They have every right to. Oregon State and Washington State got screwed over by realignment more so than any other school any other couple of schools in the country. Um, but shutting down Giovanni McCoy is something that the Rebel defense can do. Will they do it? That's going to be up to them, but they're fully capable of doing it. Looking further into the stats for them, Anthony Hankerson is a running back for them, 639 yards on the year. Really solid player. They use a couple of running backs, though. Jam Griffin is another player that they'll use. I'm not sure about the health of all these guys. I'm pretty sure that Hankerson is healthy at the moment. Um, and he's a beast. He's got 12 touchdowns on the year. He averages 5 yards a carry. The Rebels are going to have to be very focused to keep him off of that 5 yard total and maybe closer to 2 or 3 yards a carry. And it's something that the Rebel defense is built to do, with Jackson Woodard kind of captaining the middle of the Rebel defense. I think that is something that they'll be able to do, hopefully. And outside of that, I mean, McCoy has run for 200. Their quarterback has run for 231 yards on the year, so he does show a little bit of a dual threat, and that is something that the Rebels haven't had to face a ton of this year. I know that they're against Kansas, obviously. Obviously, that quarterback, Jalen Daniels, did have the ability to run the ball, and he did a couple of times in that game. But the Rebels will have to kind of spy McCoy and make sure that he doesn't get too much with their legs. In terms of receptions, the number one name to look out for is Trent Walker. Solid player, averages 10.3 yards a catch, 37 receptions on the year, 380 yards. That's going to be the big name the Rebels have to look out for. Looking at the Oregon State defense, it is one of the more decimated injury groups that I've seen. They were missing 6 or 7 of their starting defensive linemen last week against Reno. Which, looking at how decimated they were with injuries, I'm honestly not surprised that they lost, and they could have lost by more. Reno is an improved team this year, although I still believe that the Rebels will beat them by a lot. Reno is an improved team this year. Jeff Choate is a good coach, even if he's a little corny. He's not a bad coach at all. So I'm surprised they didn't lose by more. I mean, their leader in they have a DB in Skylar Thomas, who seems like he's a good player. But the Oregon State defense is kind of cooked at the moment. So the Rebels, so long as they do not have dumb turnovers, should be able to score on this Oregon State defense. And it's going to come down to the Rebels' ability to stop the Oregon State offense. For the Rebels, I think that I would run the screen game a little bit more in this particular outing. Really try and control the clock. That's something that we're going to have to do against Boise if we want to have a chance to beat them. And so, as much as I love the flashy 2-minute drives where we just go down the field immediately and score, I'm okay with having a bit of a run heavy package, even if that means sacrificing some of the throws to Ricky White. Simply because I want kind of a faster game that is, a very controlled game with the clock, that the Rebels can have some long drives, kind of to get the game over with as quickly as possible, win by a couple of touchdowns, and kind of move on. I think that should be the goal for the Rebels. It's something they're completely capable of doing. However, if this game was in Vegas, I would feel, a touchdown or two, 2 or 3 touchdowns for UNLV. I feel like that would be a reasonable expectation, but you cannot discount playing on the road. Teams have pride in their home field. And I think we saw that a little bit with Utah State last week. they had a huge student section up in Logan, and they did not want to be embarrassed on their home field, and so they really came out in that second half and put on a pretty good offensive performance. And so I would just caution the Rebels that Reese is going to be a legit place to play. If the Rebels do not come out strong early, uh, there could be a crowd situation where the Rebels could be caught in a tough situation. And at the beginning of the year, this was a loss on basically everybody's calendar. Everybody thought Oregon State would be a little stronger, perhaps, than they actually are. Now it's a must win. I think you cannot afford to lose to teams not named Boise State this year, and you can't even really afford to lose to Boise State either. I think this is a must win. I think the Rebels are going to be focused. My score prediction for this game, I do believe that the Rebels will be able to score. Um, I don't want to pick a blowout victory. I'm going to say Rebels 31, Oregon State 21. Um, I picked us against Syracuse, and I regretted doing that the minute that I did it. I don't believe that my picks actually have the ability to jinx the team, but 31-21 seems like a reasonable score, especially with how banged up that Oregon State defense is. And if I jinx the Rebels by picking them to win, I'm not picking them to beat Boise. So if I jinx the Rebels by picking them to win, then so be it. But I feel confident that the Rebels have a good chance at winning this game. They're going to have to be focused. I would not be surprised if this game was incredibly close. Um, Hopefully, the Rebels can stay focused and take advantage of that Oregon State defense. But a couple of turnovers by Hodge Malik Williams, who has so far kind of avoided the turnover bug. Maybe some mediocre run blocking. You could see this game be pretty close. And you could definitely see Oregon State win it. If UNLV were to lose this game, it would not be a surprise to anybody. Going on the road at Reser Stadium is incredibly difficult. And those fans are dedicated, as we've seen with the realignment stuff. They have good fans. And so I would just caution against overconfidence for Rebel fans. But I want to hear your thoughts. Go ahead and leave comments. Leave replies to this podcast. Let me know what you think. Maybe give me your score predictions. And we will be going live tomorrow afternoon to kind of talk about the game to get Rebel fans ready. But I wanted to get something at least quick up today so that you can prepare yourself for the game tomorrow. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and let's run.